and welcome to another edition of Here We Are. I'm your host, H.W.A, and in this edition, we're going to make our annual visit with the Russell Maryland Foundation Football Clinic weekend and share with you some of the activities that went on there. Professional athletes have proven over and over that they will lend their support to one another for a good charitable cause. During their on-field competition, these men clash hard against each other. But when the call for help is sent out for a charitable activity, they will come together to help one another. For the past 3 years in Chicago, a young man named Russell Maryland, who has a foundation named after him, has brought together some NFL players to help his foundation put on a free football clinic for the kids in the Chicagoland area. The weekend consists of a celebrity cocktail get-together, a football clinic, and a golf outing. Russell, a graduate of Whitney M. Young High School and a graduate of the University of Miami, is a defensive tackle with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys chose Russell as the first player in the 1991 football draft. Each year, the Russell Maryland Foundation Weekend Affair has grown bigger and better. The president of the Russell Maryland Foundation is John Winters. What is the purpose of this weekend?
Well, the purpose of the weekend is really what the purpose of the foundation is. Russell founded the foundation back in 1993 with the intention of giving something back to the community and to showing a positive role model for the kids here in Chicago. And because of his involvement in athletics, he uses the professional athletes to show that not only through hard work and determination that these kids can make it too.
Now, you're new at the helm, being the president. What was the hardest aspect of putting this weekend together?
Well, the hardest aspect actually is we have about 4 or 5 events, and it's getting them put together so that they run chronologically or they run together, so to speak. I think the hardest event to run was the event we're here today for, because we have so many different things going on. We have the silent auction, we have the players coming in, and we have a lot of people coming in expecting to meet the players and get autographs and things like that. It was just hard in that aspect.
How do you feel about the response that you're getting thus far for this event?
Well, I think the response has been outstanding. We started out slow. Through the radio advertisements that we had, through everyone's contacts, all our foundation members did a great job in contacting their friends, their barbers, their stores that they go to, and we've had a very positive response. And I think the foundation is going to continue to grow, and we're going to promote Russell and everything that he believes in as far as giving back to the community and helping these kids develop positive attitudes.
The master of ceremonies for the Russell Maryland Foundation cocktail reception was the fine actor with the baritone voice, Mr. Keith Davis. What made you want to become in a predominantly athletic weekend?
First of all, because they asked me. And second of all, because, listen, I watch these guys play all the time. So, and for a chance to actually get to meet them personally and to mingle with them, it's a chance that I had to jump at.
What do you think about the Russell Maryland Foundation?
I think that the Russell Maryland Foundation is more than just a great thing. I think it's a necessary thing. When we come from wherever we come from, whatever our background happens to be, there comes a point in your life when if you've been given, God has been good to you, you've then got to return the gift. That's how I think that's how we are. That's how we are reflected. I mean, the image of God is reflected in us. Is that we have an opportunity to give back what God has given to us. And I think that the Russell Maryland Foundation represents that giving back.
Now, what advice do you give to you in regards to choosing a career, or whatever career they choose? What advice do you give them in pursuing that?
Follow your bliss. Whatever makes you happy, and go after it hungrily. And hopefully, you'll be able to make a living at it. But if not, at least whatever you have to make a living at, there's something in your life that fulfills you so that you can go make your living, and you still have something that fulfills your life.
Now, are you involved in any other youth-oriented type activities?
At the moment, raising my son.
Dean Sangerlis, a financial planner, and Jim Pasco of Classic Scoreboard Sports Cards had these comments about Russell and the Russell Maryland Foundation. How were you introduced to the Maryland family?
Oh, it goes
back a few years, I was introduced by Terry Dietrich, who now is an auto dealer in Indiana, and his wife works for me. And I was doing some financial services for young Russell, and I met his father, Jim, and ever since we've become very good friends and close friends.
What advice do you give to youth in regards to financial planning?
Well, the advice given to youth is to work hard, study hard, and save some money as you go along the way, and hopefully invest it wisely, and seek good financial counselors.
What has been your reaction to the weekend thus far?
I think it's been fantastic. I've been to all of it, Russell Foundation fairs, and they've been very good, and he's doing a great thing for the youth in Chicago and the nation.
How did you become involved in the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend?
Well, when Russell first came out of the University of Miami, Classic Scoreboard signed him to a contract for his memorabilia rights and his trading card rights. We did the first trading card of Russell. And ever since that time, since the Russell Maryland Foundation was brought to be, we've been a very active participant in it.
Now tell us a bit about your company.
We're the largest distributor in the world of authentic autographed sports memorabilia. We're one of the top 5 trading card manufacturers in the United States. We do NFL trading cards, do trading cards of baseball, basketball, and also hockey.
Are you involved in a lot of events like this generated toward the youth?
All the athletes that we sign, yes, we're very, very active participant in all our charities of all the different athletes we work with.
So you're a very busy man.
Very busy man, very busy man.
What do you think about the event thus far?
It's great. It's absolutely great. You know, Russell is a very special human being. He does this in Miami, in Dallas, and also here, and it's just, he does a great job, and the entire family and all the helpers in the foundation, they do a tremendous job. And as you can see by the night out here, the museum, second to none.
Because Russell was a good student and a hard worker, education is one of the things that is stressed by the Russell Maryland Foundation. One of the persons receiving an award from the foundation was Dr. Anna Price of the University of Miami.
I became involved with the Russell Maryland Foundation because I love Russell Maryland. He was a student athlete when I came to the athletic department at the University of Miami, and just learned to admire and love him, and to understand that he's really a prime example of what academics and athletics can do for a young person.
What priorities do you stress to the youth?
I stress being able to achieve a particular objective or goal. And with young people, you have to take them where they are. If their interest is athletics, you have to use that to help motivate them to know what to do in the classroom. They have to commit themselves there so they can achieve in athletics. And as they grow and mature, then those things start to become equal, and eventually the academic success becomes priority.
Now, what advice do you give kids interested in aspiring for an athletic career? What advice do you give them in choosing a school?
The most crucial thing in choosing a school is what we call student fit. If you feel comfortable on the campus, if you feel comfortable with the people, of course if it has the major you want and all that, those are givens. But you have to have a specific feeling to feel that you fit on that campus, and that's the most crucial thing.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Here We Are with the Russell Maryland Foundation right after this. Welcome back. I'm H.W.A, and in this edition of Here We Are, we're at the Russell Maryland Foundation. Anita, how did you become involved with the Russell Maryland Foundation?
I became involved with the Russell Maryland Foundation through Mr. Maryland. I got to know Russell and found out what a great, fantastic person he is, what a role model person that he is also. As an educator and a person who has a success program for young children, I saw his interest in children. And last year I was a guest at the camp, and I saw how well organized it was, how everything was beautiful. So that's how I got involved with the Russell Maryland Foundation.
What advice do you find yourself telling youth the most? Being involved in a program like this, I'm sure you give out a lot of advice. But what do you find telling them the most?
I guess maybe sometimes I give out too much advice, but I always tell them that you're number one, that you have to believe in yourself, that you have to be a competitor. Just like Russell, you have to give it all that you have. And that's what I tell students all the time. We have a motto in our program, through these doors past champions. because I believe in every child is a champion just waiting to come out. And you need foundations and programs like these and sponsorships to bring out the champion in our children.
Whenever a good idea comes along, there is always at least one person that believes in it. Terry Dietrich was one of the persons that believed in the Russell Maryland Foundation. The foundation showed their appreciation by giving him an award shaped like a football.
How are you lending your support to the Russell Maryland Foundation for you?
Well, I lend my support every year, but I really lend my support 365 days a year. And with Jim and Rita and Annette and all the other great people at the foundation, you know, whenever they have a fundraiser, a Dusty Stepper, you know, I'm from Northwest Indiana, and we help buy some tickets and provide transportation, and for the big Russell Maryland event here during the annual event, we provide a lot of help with my employees and transportation.
What programs are you involved in outside of this that are generated toward the youth?
Well, I'm on the board of directors for the Northwest Indiana Boys and Girls Club, and I also participate in Catholic Charities in the Catholic Youth and the Trade Winds of Northwest Indiana and the United Way.
What do you tell the youth in regards to education?
Well, you know, I've learned a lot from Jim Maryland about how to handle the youth in America, and the one thing is that the youth need their own self-esteem, and it starts with the parents, and it starts with the adults, the business people, the religious, the teachers, and it's got to be done together. It's not going to happen by accident. We have to make it happen every day.
When an event is carrying your name, you are wanted in many places. Russell is no exception.
Does it get harder or easier putting on these events, being your third year?
Well, it's supposed to get easier, but it seems like it gets harder every year because every year we try to make it a little bit better than the previous year. The first year we held this at the China Club, this little reception. Last year we had Palos, out in Palos Heights at the Palos Heights Country Club, and this year the Field Museum. Just the Field Museum in and of itself is a huge task to hold something in, so it's going pretty good so far.
So far. That leads to my next question. How do you feel about the support you're receiving thus far?
Oh, great support. I mean, I've been inundated with calls at home with people asking about the event for this weekend, asking how they can help out the foundation. And I mean, it seems like I've been getting calls every 5 minutes during the day. And there's been so much on me and my mom trying to answer all the calls and trying to answer everybody's questions. We just can't answer everybody's questions, but we try to. We've been getting tremendous support. I mean, our foundation members have been working real hard to drum up some support, and they've been doing a great job.
Now, why is a Russell Maryland weekend like this so important?
I think this weekend is important to let all Chicago and everybody know that there's someone in Chicago, there's an organization in Chicago that's not a fly-by-night organization. There's an organization that is trying to do some good for the community. You hear about so many bad things on the news all the time, especially within the black community. You hear so many bad things. I think this is a positive thing, and I think eventually, if we can gain more notoriety, gain more support, we'll be able to try to add some positive images in the community and to overtake all those negative images.
Now, what is a personal goal for you this weekend?
Personal goal is to raise more money than we've raised in the past, to just have everything, to have a better clinic in the past than the past 2 years, to have a better reception, to have a better golf tournament. Every year we strive for perfection. We've had good years in the past, but we want this to be the best year yet. And I think that's pretty much our goal for this year.
Now, what has been your formula for success as an athlete?
It's a pretty simple formula, but it just takes a lot of work. It's a formula that I've been taught since college, and really a formula all throughout my playing days, high school and college. My high school coaches and my college coaches. My high school coaches taught me determination. to keep going, to keep working hard. And my college coaches taught me to have a positive attitude along with that hard work and determination. And when you couple those things together, it equals a good performance every time.
Last question. What advice are you going to give these children at the football clinic?
Well, the main advice that I'm going to give these kids is not only advice to succeed in whatever you try to do, always work hard, never give up, but I just want guys to look at me and look at where I've come from and know that I've come from similar backgrounds. I've come from the same background. I've been in their shoes before. And I just want them to know that only 9, 10, 11 years ago, I was right here playing in Chicago, playing at Gateway Stadium, just like these guys could possibly be doing right now. And that I've been blessed with success, and they just keep working hard, they keep praying, and keep having that positive attitude. They can be just as successful as I have been, as I have become.
We hope you're enjoying the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. Now stay tuned, we'll be back with more activities. And we're back with more Here We Are and the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. Mr. and Mrs. Emmett Smith, the parents of the Dallas Cowboys running back Emmett Smith, were on hand once again to lend their support to the Russell Maryland Foundation.
Your family are regulars to the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. What keeps you coming back?
Well, we've been here since the beginning, and it keeps growing and growing. And I'm enjoying myself. And Russell's parents come down to our charity event once a year. They enjoy themselves. So it's kind of a combined thing. He learned from us and we learn from them.
What do you tell the youth about sports and education?
To me, education is first and sports is last. Sports only lasts a little while. Education is something you get, can no one take from you.
What has been your formula for success in producing one of the nation's top athletes?
I really think that you have to really spend time with your kids. You have to take time, quality time, to install in them the true values of life, clean living, God first, and to be the best that you can be at whatever you do.
How involved are you in your son's career?
How involved? Now, I'm not that involved. Growing up, I was involved. I took him to practice, picked him up, and traveled, supported him in games, home games, out-of-town games.
Now, why is it beneficial, or what are the benefits of having a Russell Maryland Foundation, or in your case, an Emmett Smith Foundation?
I think the benefits are the kids that it helped, the organization that they help. I know in Pensacola we strongly affiliated with the Boys and Girls Club, some recreation clubs, and education.
What advice do you give youth aspiring for a career in athletics?
I would say that you have to set goals and work hard to obtain those goals on the field, whatever it may be. If you want to be a doctor, you have to spend that extra hour studying when everybody else is out playing.
Also on hand was sports agent Lee Steinberg.
Being an agent, it entails looking for different sports talents, that type of thing. But outside of athletic ability, what do you look for in an aspiring athlete?
Well, the major component really is heart and desire, because there are many talented athletes, but the question is, how dedicated are they in terms of work ethic? How much will do they have to try to win and succeed? And then from our standpoint, will they serve as a role model and go back and retrace their roots to the high school community, collegiate community, professional community, and use that unique opportunity that athletes have to serve as role models and trigger imitative behavior.
Now, what about Russell? What did you see in Russell?
Well, Russell has the most amazing character and personality imaginable. It was crystal clear when we first met that this was someone whose whole life story could end up being an inspiration for anyone who is trying to not only achieve on the field, but off the field. You got someone who gets up early in the morning to take a bus all the way across town, who is the last recruit that the University of Miami takes and ends up working his way into being the very first player selected in the whole country his year. And he's got warmth and compassion and a true sense of caring, so that kids light up when they see Russell Maryland. I represent some 65 players in the National Football League, and the favorite of both of my sons to this day is Russell Maryland, because kids are able to sense pretense. They're able to sense phoniness. And Russell's just such a genuinely warm, good human being that it makes a real difference, so that for him to come back to Chicago and make an impact in a program like this and do the sorts of things that he's done in Dallas. You know, we live in an age where athletes are perceived as high-priced, spoiled playboys, skimming the cream from the top of the land. The AP Wire part of the sports section is daily catalog of athletic misbehavior. And here comes Russell Maryland, who's bright, who cares, who understands his place as an active citizen, as part of a community. And it makes a real difference. He's able to trigger imitative behavior, especially in the young, who can look at him and emulate him.
The Russell Maryland Foundation Weekend brings out many different faces. Some of the faces you may recognize, others you may not. The president of the Cook County Board, Commissioner John Stroger, former baseball roadrunner, Ralph Garr, educator, Miss Anita Ellis, and one of Russell's coaches at Dallas, Coach Herbert Alexander, were some of those out supporting the foundation. How did you come to know the Marylands and get involved in this weekend?
Well, I have known the Marylands since Maryland was a very small young man. Russell, father and I worked with the Woodlawn Boys Club, and Mr. Russell was always out front in promoting youth activities, encouraging young men to go to college, particularly southern black colleges, and he tried to do everything he possibly could to help improve the quality of life for the young men in that community. And it was a natural that Russell would not only be a good athlete, but a compassionate, sensitive, and concerned citizen. And the evidence is in the Russell Maryland Foundation, where they work with young people and try to make a difference in these young men's lives.
What other youth-oriented activities are you involved in?
Well, I'm not as actively involved as I used to be in participation, but I finance Little League baseball teams. We work with our youth group in the 8th Ward Democratic Organization, promoting basketball in the summer, some track and field events. And I just try to get around and meet and talk with as many young men and women as I possibly can.
What advice do you give the youth in aspiring for whatever career choice that they decide to go into?
Well, you got to first know who you are, identify with yourself, focus on a goal, and then work extremely dedicated towards that goal. And if you do that and don't allow collateral things to interfere with your life, you will be successful.
Come back for some more Here We Are in the Maryland Foundation Weekend. back. This is Here We Are, and we're going to continue on with some of the activities that took place at the Russell, Maryland weekend. What changes have you noticed in athletics since you've left the game?
Well, baseball is basically changed, but the way it's marketed now is a whole lot different than it was when I first came up. I think it's a lot about marketing the game of baseball more or less now, and there's a lot of money involved that's openly discussed more or less than it was when I played, and therefore it makes a big difference. And it seems like it's more about money than it is the game. You know, it seems like just like the scrap really hurt baseball a lot as far as baseball is concerned. But sports overall now is a great big multi-billion-dollar industry, and when it's like that, and it's about marketing, and that's the way they make money. So really you have to go along with the program where there's a lot of money involved in it, and it makes it a whole lot bigger different now than it did more or less when I played, although it's still about money.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that in mind, what do you tell youth when you are going to recruit them? What are you looking for, and what do you tell them?
Well, the main thing you try to look for a young man is to try to get him to attend school. Baseball, sports now in general, whereas you used to get guys out of San Locker playing on the side of the road, that don't happen anymore. If a kid is not in school and keep his eligibility up, then it's hard for him to get a chance to play professional baseball, football, or basketball, because if you don't make the grades and stuff and stay in school, then it's very difficult for you to go into professional sports in any aspect of sports. So I tell first thing he had to do is apply himself to getting this lesson out in school and to be a good citizen, and then all the rest of it come together. You know what I'm saying? Sports is something I think that you work hard to play, but you got to put education ahead of everything, because that helps you to be a better citizen anyway. And education is going to be there after baseball is gone. So you have to just put your priorities in perspective, and those are the things that help you be successful in anything that you do. What
quality should a person look for when choosing a team to be a part of?
Management first. Look for the team as from the top, the person that's running the team. And then you go down to the coaches. And then you look for a team that has the more or less the know-how, know what to do and how to handle and how to run the ship.
Coach Alexander, do you ever find yourself telling these kids about how to deal with negative criticism?
Oh, yes. You got to tell them that, because everybody, you see, once you're a football player, a basketball player, whatever, you put yourself in what you call a fishbowl, and everybody's your coach. Everybody's going to criticize, because those people got open season on you, see, because you're special, and they're going to take shots at you. So the only thing you have to do is have a deaf ear and have goals and put the blinders on and just look straight ahead and do what you got to do.
And what's the most rewarding aspect of your career?
Well, the most rewarding thing is to see young people grow. You know, I started off in high school, junior high school, coaching, and then you work with those guys, and those guys go on and get scholarships and, you know, raise families and become productive people in life, and that's the things that you like to see from a kid from maybe 12 or 13 years old and then come out as a man at 23 or 24 years old. And that's what you love. That's what I love.
Now, you've been here for the past couple of years. What keeps you coming back to the Russell, Maryland weekend?
Well, because of the kids. These people sitting over there in the stands. You want to work with people. You want to help people out. You want them to get a look at what the professional world is all about and how we try to help kids and how we try to bring them on and give them a good role model and make them more or less you know, hit the right path in life and try to set an example for them and try to make them feel like they are a part of the whole situation.
The football clinic appears to be a lot of fun for the NFLers. They send the youngsters through drills, teaching them some basic techniques of football. We talked with Dixon Edwards of Dallas, Michael Dean Perry of the Denver Broncos, Robert Jones, middle linebacker of the Cowboys, Darren Smith, outside linebacker for the Cowboys, Tony Talbert of the Cowboys, and Chad Hennings of the Cowboys about their participation in the clinic.
What priorities do you stress to the youth? Get the discipline of staying in the classroom. That will carry over, because, like I said, the more time you learn that discipline, it'll help you. It'll benefit you later on. Like I said, you know, we start to take notes and begin to be tested in front of our peers more than what we did in classes in school. So I would stress that make sure that you stay sharp with your studies, and that will help you, I think, the best to advance.
What is the downside of professional sports that a lot of aspiring athletes don't know?
It would seem to me that the time factor, the more and more you get in different levels, from the high school to the college level to the pros level, it seems that you spend a lot more time away from doing other things, and you spend a lot more time studying. Me personally, when in high school, I didn't spend much time studying football, and in college, it escalated, and then it advanced to the pros, to where it was just like going to class again in college, where you would have to take a notebook, take notes, and you were tested every week on what you knew or what you found out that week or what you learned that week.
What is your strategy for success as an athletic career?
I would say stay disciplined. Try to live clean. Stay focused on what you need to do. Keep an eye on the prize, so to speak, and know your goals and what you want to do out of this. And don't let anything sway you from those goals. And whatever you do, most of all, work hard and work to be the best.
Michael, what do you tell the young people in regards to giving back to the community?
I think, growing up in a small community, and that everybody kind of knew everyone, it was quite easy to come back and, get some of myself, to the young people. And I just think that when you come back and talk to the youth, I think you display a positive message. So I always say come back and talk to the youth and try to give them a positive message.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you find yourself talking to these kids about the most?
Well, the one thing that, of course, is corrupting our youth is the drugs and alcohol. And I think they need to be instilled with the respect that I got instilled with when I was a youngster. I mean, we respected our mothers and fathers so much that we didn't have any heroes. They were our heroes. And I think we need to instill that in our youth. Again, I think they kind of lost those family values, and we need to instill those values into our youth again.
Now, what wisdom do you give kids when you're talking about dealing with the stress that's associated with your sport?
Well, I mean, any business or profession that you go in, you're going to have individuals that you don't get along with. And I would say from a academic standpoint, from a business standpoint, how you look at it, I think that you have to, pretty much leave it there, because you have to go home and deal with your family. You can't take that stress home to your family, because then everybody is uptight, and that you send out a negative message because you're taking your work, back to your home. So I guess with the stress that comes with my job, I just try to keep it at the job and go home to my family, because I do have another life outside of football. This is a small part of my life, and I just try to keep it in one place. When I go home to my family, I just try to be the Michael Dean, that the father and the husband and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend?
Oh, I think it's a great weekend. I came to the first one, and I missed the last one, but coming back, a year later, 2 years later, it has really grown. I think it's helping the youth of Chicago. I think he's doing a very positive thing for the youth of Chicago, and it's going to get better and better each year.
What is your formula for success as an athlete?
I think just my effort. I put a lot of effort into everything that I do, and it's regardless of if it's football, if it's studying, the classroom, I just put a lot of effort into it, because what you put into things is what you get out.
What quality should a person look for when choosing a team to be a part of?
I guess they should look for like the family aspect of it. Is it like a family? Is it like a team? Is it a situation where there are not many individuals? I think when a group can get together and work together, then the whole aspect of winning is there. I think they should just look for an attitude in a team, whether can they convert it, can they have an aggressive attitude on the field, and can they come off the field and get along with each other.
What do you tell kids at clinics like this about sports and education?
I tell them that sports is something that's great to be involved in, because you can learn a lot from sports and take it into the real world, the job world, and as far as discipline. And when you grow up, you can kind of teach your kids things that you learn in sports. And I also tell them that sports is something that is not longevity involved in it. So you have to learn what you can learn now, make as much money as you can now, and think about education, because that's very important. That's what you're going to have to do the rest of your life, because when you reach 35, 40 years old, then you can no longer play sports.
Now, what questions do you find yourself being asked the most by the youth at clinics like this?
You know, the youth, one thing I notice about young guys, they like to compare to see where, you know, where you are compared to where they are at a certain age. So they always ask questions like, how big are you? How fast are you? How much can you lift? Or when you were my age, how fast were you? How much could you lift? How big were you? They try to get a gauge and see, you know, if they can reach that level someday. So that, you know, one of the biggest things that the younger people ask me is more of like the physical things, you know, how fast you are. And what I try to share with them also is more than just how fast you are and how big you are. And a lot of it has to do with intelligence and smarts, you know, and staying out of trouble. And you know, there's a lot of great athletes out there, a lot of young athletes who are fast and strong. You know, but one of the problems they do run into is getting in trouble. And you know, if they don't stay out of trouble, it doesn't matter how fast and big you are. I mean, if you don't take care of business off the field, you won't be on the field.
Right. What do you tell the youth about life after sports?
Well, I think the key with life after sports is preparation. You know, one of the biggest things that an athlete, one of the biggest mistakes that an athlete can make is not preparing for after football. Because, you know, you attain a certain lifestyle being an athlete. When it's over, you know, you to continue that lifestyle, either you're going to have to get a good job that pays the same amount, or you're not going to be able to afford the same lifestyle. So the thing that's important is to prepare you know, for after football, and you do that before your career is over, you know, with the education, going to school, learning and studying, preparing yourself for the things you want to do when football is over. If it's architecture, you know, while you're in college, you study architecture. If it's engineering, you study engineering. So when football is over, you'll be prepared and you'll be able to go into your field and be ready when sports are over.
What do you think about Russell Maryland and this foundation?
I think Russell's doing a great job. I think it was very important, you know, to give back to the neighborhood, and I think that's one thing that Russell is doing very effectively. And I can say that I'm very proud of him, and you know, I think that all athletes should somehow, you know, give back to their neighborhood, give back to the place where they came from, because I think it's important to stay in touch with the people, you know, because you were that little kid a long time ago. So, and you know, someday it's going to be another Russell Maryland that comes up, and he's going to be able to say that, you know, I was motivated when I went to the Russell Maryland camp. He made me want to better myself, and then it'll continue to go on and go on from there, and just generations and generations can continue to be better.
Tony, how do you feel about athletes being labeled as superhuman?
Well, I don't think we're superhuman. You know, we're in the public eye, so a lot of people are going to look at what we do. As a man, you know, you always go out and tell the kids, hey, if you're going to pattern yourself against, you know, like a pro player, hey, use some of the qualities he have athletically, maybe some intangible things, his off-the-field work, etc. But you never want to look up to a person that's in a position where he's taking advantage of using friends, abusing the public, etc. You want a guy, if you want a role model, etc., somebody of that nature, you know, you should stay close to home, parents, family, friends, people that you really rely on and you see every day. You should never go out to the point and idolize a pro athlete, because he's living a career. He may not have the same qualities that you may be looking for, but he has something that he can give, and that's just, you know, athletic talent. You don't want to go out and say, hey, I don't want to be like this guy because he smokes marijuana or whatever. You want to go out and say, hey, I like this guy because he contributes to the community. He's a good person. Off the field, he's a true person, and that's what you try to do as an athlete.
Now, you've been here 2 years in a row. Well, what is about the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend that keeps you coming back?
Well, first of all, Russell's a great friend. He's a true friend, so therefore you'll go out your way to try to contribute or help a friend when he needs something. And that's how we feel about Russell. He's part of the family. He'll always be part of the family, so we'll go out our way to do anything for him.
Jimmy, what is your strategy in being a successful athlete, I should say?
Being successful is going out, trying to work hard, always trying to strive to be your best, never be content or nothing. If somebody say you can't do something, I always try to prove that I'm wrong, and
being very successful as a professional athlete is always working hard and being dedicated at your task at hand.
Do you ever find yourself telling young people how to deal with negative criticism?
Yes, I do. You know, I deal with a lot of negative criticism. I try to relate my life and try to tell them what I had to go through, use the negative for a positive, because a lot of people, you know, use negatives for bad games. Most people use negatives for a good game. I try to tell them always use a negative for a good game, because, you know, you can use that to motivate you in life, because a lot of things that happen to your life happen for a purpose, and it makes you work at it and be able to go do it. And I think that I try to tell a lot of young people, try to work hard. Don't let nobody ever talk you down to saying that you can't do anything. Go out there and do it yourself to prove them wrong.
What inspires you?
What inspires me? Going out there and with a competition at the level that I play at, being able to go out and make people around me happy, and to see like young people look up to me. The things that, you know, I had one guy, and that was he's a baseball player that came to my hometown one time, and he was a real famous guy. You know, Dale Murphy, that used to pitch for Atlanta, and he came up there, and I always remember that from junior high. And I said I wanted to be in his shoes, because I looked around and looked at all the little kids looking up to him. I said I want that same thing to happen to me.
Hey, we'll be right back with more of Here We Are. We're back. Let's go back to the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. You know, Chad, you've been here for the past couple of years, a supporter of this event. What keeps you coming back?
What I'm doing right here is seeing these bright, shiny faces of all these kids. You know, it's our opportunity just to come back, give something back to the community.
What has been a personal goal for you when you come to clinics like this?
Try and relate something, you know, that I've learned from my experiences to relate to the kids, so you know, they have that one-up on their competition then.
Now, what's a misconception do you find yourself talking about to these kids when they come to you and ask you questions about certain things dealing with athletics?
You know, a lot of kids, they want to know how you get so big, how you get so fast, you know, what it takes. And the thing I try and tell them is there's no shortcuts to success. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears go into every season and every time we get out on the field.
Russell's mother, Miss Rita Maryland, was very happy about how the weekend turned out. What priorities do you stress to the youth?
Well, education first and foremost. We are the Russell Maryland Foundation, and Russell Maryland himself placed a high value on education and went all the way through the University of Miami, received his bachelor's degree in psychology, and so he wants some of that to rub off on the foundation as we impart that to younger children.
Now, do you feel that for the most part that that professional athletes have a good support group like family, friends, associates?
Most of them do. I think in order for them to have come this far, there has been somebody behind them, a mother, a father, a teacher, somewhere along the line that has encouraged him to go further. And I think most of them do have some type of support group behind them or a support individual.
Now, how do you feel about your turnout so far and the support that you've been receiving for this clinic?
Well, this is our third year of putting on this clinic, and this, I think, has surpassed the 2 previous years as far as attendance, as far as excitement and enthusiasm. I'm really well pleased with the way this has turned out. We have more people in the stands, we have more young people participating on the field, and I'm pleased with the way this has turned out. It has surpassed previous years.
The chairman of the foundation, Mr. Jim Maryland. Mr. Maryland, what priorities do you stress to the youth?
First of all, I say to each boy and girl, a young lady, a young man, the very importance of positive self-image. Do the necessary things that are positive, which will make that individual happy, number one. Number two, but let me just back up a minute. Number one, our kids don't have a conviction. Our kids don't know what a supreme power like serving the Lord is. That's one of my major concerns right now. So many of our kids have turned away from the Lord. So many of our institutions are de-emphasizing a closeness with God. one has to have inner meditative powers, and you don't have to be an older person to have these. That's the number one priority. Secondly, kids must get educated. They must get educated. And this is a thing in America where not all of our kids, but for the majority of the kids that are attending the institutions of higher learning, they're not absorbing the necessary things that's going to help them to be successful in life. And then so many kids are turning to drugs. They seem to need a crutch. They have such great peer pressure. They want to do what Johnny is doing, Jody is doing, or Susie's doing. They think it's cool. Those are the priorities which kids should focus on.
Do you feel that for the most part that professional athletes have a good support group like family, friends, and associates?
You have to understand that many of the professional athletes come from broken homes, and I think just the very fact that they compete, it builds that self-confidence factor that I just spoke about. The positive self-image, the camaraderie-ship that they have with their teammates and people around them. When you're in the limelight like that, you can get the positive self-image much faster than just an individual out here. So certainly, being able to compete, being able to become successful, helps build that positive self-image.
Now, what is a personal goal for you this weekend?
Well, one personal goal is to see as many young people gather here at Gately and the people of Chicago and surrounding suburbia areas, northwest Indiana, to come together with a young man such as Russell Maryland, who has pledged to give back to the community, come together in a positive program. And I think that this clinic today is a positive program.
What are your thoughts about the support that you've received thus far?
People in this city and surrounding areas have just been superb. They have been absolutely, it's indescribable how supportive they've been to this. Russell made some TV appearances, he did some radio interviews, and he did some personal appearances like going over to Cook County Hospital with the kids. And just surprisingly, people have rallied to this cause. As you know, 3 years ago when we started, we just had a handful of people who supported us. Now we got thousands of people that's interested in doing positive things. And this is the kind of thing that we should be fostering in Chicago. We should have positive programs and positive things, and people will rally to your cause.
We hope you're enjoying the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. Now stay tuned, we'll be back with more activities. Welcome back. Let's go back to some more activities from the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. Alfredo Roberts, Mickey Pruitt, and Michael Irvin were all on hand for the Russell Maryland weekend. What is the downside of professional sports that a lot of aspiring young athletes don't know about?
The downside is probably the toll that it takes on your body. A lot of guys see the glamour on Sunday, but they forget what happens Monday through Saturday. And getting yourself prepared, regardless how prepared you are to go out and play, it's such a physical game that anything can happen, and the abuse that you put on your body, it catches up to you.
What is it that you want these kids to remember about you?
I want them to remember that along with being a good athlete or a good football player, that I also went out and got my education. I got my degree, and I'm doing something positive with myself. Going out and doing things that are negative, that are not necessarily cool, to go and do some positive things, those are the cool things.
What makes you lend your support to a Russell Maryland Foundation weekend?
I think being that we have a lot of the same ties, that we are brothers from the University of Miami, and having a professional career together, it tends to, you want to go out and support anything your brother is doing, and I love him so much that he can call me anytime, day or night, and I'll be out to support him.
How do you feel about athletes being labeled as superhuman?
I don't think we are superhuman. I think we just have a gift and a talent that God gave us, and people label it as superhuman, but I don't know why they label us that, but it's something that we just gifted do what we do, and things that we do as far as playing football is it's just a job for us. Like anybody else to be adopted, they gifted and superhuman as far as doing surgery and stuff like that. So I don't think we're superhuman. I don't like the phrase or people calling us that.
What is your strategy for in being a success in your athletic career?
The thing that people have to understand is that being an athlete is very hard. And when a lot of people just see it on television or see it watching college or something like that, they really don't understand the hard work and the commitment that it takes. So, I mean, my underlining message would be that we all have to work very hard to achieve anything we want.
Now, you deal with a lot of youth-oriented activities. Let's talk about some of those things. And why do you feel the need to do that?
I've been fortunate. I've had a chance to live here all my life, and growing up in kind of a rough environment, I never really had any role models. And so what I'm trying to do is show these young kids that there are alternatives to gangs and stuff.
What keeps you coming back to the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend?
Russell. He's a great guy, and anytime I have a chance to come out and help out, because I think what he's doing is terrific. You know, when he can organize something like this takes a lot of preparing, and it's for the kids.
What inspires you?
My mom. I've been very fortunate. I had a great mom, and I'm just trying to see her again, so I think everything I do is in honor of her.
What inspires you, Mike?
My mother, my family. You know, I learned at an early age that I was put on this earth to take care of my family, my mother and everything, and that's all Jim Dandy with me. That's fine. I look towards that as a blessing, and I appreciate it, and I enjoy it.
What priorities do you stress when talking to youth?
Well, you know what, the big thing I try to tell kids is that most kids look at themselves and say, hey, look, this is my life, let me live it. You know, and I was a victim of it also. I said the same thing when I was young. Hey, this is my life, let me live it. Until I sat one day in that hospital and I watched my father, you know, and my father was he was dying of a brain and throat tumor, so he was slowly just suffering, and I kind of watched my father, and I said, you know what, it's not my life. You know, every decision I make affects my family, affects the people that love me, affects the people that did all they can do to make sure I get to where I'm at. So it's not just my life, it's everybody's life, and everybody's sharing in my life. It belongs to them. So when I make a decision, I like to stop and think, hey, well, if I do this, will it hurt them? If I do this, will it make them proud of me? And you just kind of go by those guidelines. I mean, when I do something, I always think of my mother. So what will my mother think if she knew I was doing this? What would my mother think if she knew I was doing that? And if I think she would be upset, then I say, no, I shouldn't do this.
How do you feel about people labeling athletes as superhuman?
Well, by no stretch of imagination, superhumans. I mean, we're people that's been given a talent, and some of us expanded on it by hard work. You know, it doesn't mean by any stretch of imagination that you're superhuman. I mean, there's nights that I cry like a baby, and I need a shoulder to cry on. And there are nights that I'm happy as I could be. You know, I go through the same ups and downs that everybody go through, and superhumans don't go through those ups and downs. They just got all ups and everything, but we have ups and downs.
What questions do you generally get at youth clinics?
From kids? You know, kids want to know everything. You know, kids want to know what did it take for you to get there? How much work is it? What is it like playing this guy? What is it like playing that guy? They even want to know how much money do you make? You know, I'd be like, hey, you know, I'm supposed to ask a man how much money he makes, but they want to know that and everything, and to share with them is something special, because then, you know, it's whether it's good or bad, or I don't know, but when an athlete talks to kids, they get their undivided attention, because that's what they see. Kids will sit up there and look at it. I mean, more so than, quite honestly, the teacher or anybody else. Most of the time when an athlete talks to a kid, it's their undivided attention. And they sit there and they listen and they listen and they listen, and they'll ask questions and they want to know these things. And it's a great sharing experience. You know, you try to share the things that you went through in life with these kids, and it's a great sharing experience.
Well, that wraps it up for another edition of Here We Are. We'd like to thank everyone who was involved in the Russell Maryland Foundation weekend. This is T.R. Mugabe, and on behalf of everyone at Here We Are, until next time, as always, God bless.